This is the story of an anime being rushed out of... I don't really know, man. Just let's get to the episode. Today we are talking about Guilty Crown. Hello everyone, welcome to the Weeb initiative. I'm your host, the Weeb. This week we're talking about an anime that I love, most for its music, but I love either way. Guilty Crown. Guilty Crown is the first OVA I'll be talking about in the podcast. OVA meaning original video animation, so it does not have a manga as its source material. It was originally created as an anime. The manga and the novel came after its release. That's one of the, let's say, characteristics of it. This, first off, I'll start with disclaimers because there are some things I really want to talk about. First one is a spoiler alert. As always, I will be talking about some parts of the anime that really might spoil the fun. I don't know if I don't script this thing, so I don't know if I will touch on the secrets, but either way, spoiler alert. And also, due to the synopsis of this anime, if anything sounds too on the nose, considering our sitch in 2021, please be advised, be warned, I didn't choose this with any ulterior motive. I'm just here to talk about the anime, and the best part of it, it's amazing soundtrack. It's one of the best composers of a original soundtrack I can think of. It's one of the best. So wrap around, let's go. Talking about first the premise. No, before that I will talk about the studio and the specs. So it came out in October 2011 and ended in March 2012. It has, strangely, 22 episodes, and its soundtrack is all original from what I gather. I think some of the throwaway songs are bought, but anyways, the focus here is the music, as I will talk about later. The story is the weak link in the whole sitch, and that's basically it. It's produced by IG Production, which is a really good studio in my humble opinion. I can only sing praises for them because some of the anime I love, most of them, were created by IG Production or Weeb Studio, which is the subsidiary, the sister company under the IG Port umbrella. Weeb Production, just as a side note, they do Shingeki no Kyojin, The Ancient Magus Bride, and some other Vinland Saga, some other pretty big anime, pretty big projects. So again, about IG Production. IG Production had, I can say had because it's been, I think, like 7 to 8 years that they don't do OVAs anymore, but they are the studio responsible for the Blood series, so Blood Plus, Blood C, Blood the Last Vampire, and all the related stuff, and some other OVAs. So I really I love Blood Plus to death. Someday I will make the episode about Blood Plus, but I really have to take my time on it. It has 4 seasons and all manner of things I need to say about that. So okay, that's about the studio. About the OST, because as you see, I will talk a lot about its center theme of the anime in some instances. First, for the openings, they made public auctions for, according to Wikipedia, over 2,000 candidates to sing the opening. All the OST is composed by, here it is, Hiroyuki Sawano. I don't know. I just say the names because maybe it means something for you. I don't know artist names, so either way. So the person singing the openings is not a VA. It's not the voice actor or voice actress for any of the characters in the anime. The voice acting is dealt really with professionals of the area and not by someone they picked up. I think it was for the consistency of the work. I don't know. I just have to give this shout out, Shelly, which is the girl who sings My Dearest, which is the first opening, and Everlasting Guilt and Crown, which is the second opening. You rock. If you ever hear this, please know I love your work. Aside from that, sidetracking myself, the OST is composed by 75 minutes of audio, so it's a pretty long, to my knowledge, it's a pretty long OST for a 22 episodes anime. Just saying. IG Production makes an effort for their OVAs. At the very least, they did. Anyways, that's all the things I wanted to shout out. I wanted to say first. So the OST, original soundtrack, is the best part of it. Design is second and story is last. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So the premise, it's so like 2029, December 24th. There's this outbreak of a virus that, oh wait, it's basically a whole pandemonium, which it's like for some reason people just get infected and they automatically turn to crystals, and the crystals just straight up disintegrate. So it's pretty messed up. And yeah, there's this one event, they call it the Lost Christmas, in 2029. So 10 years later, our story starts, which is 2039. Our main character, Omashu, he is a student at one of the high schools, so pretty normal start. But for some reason, and I'm explaining this in the way Shu sees it. I'll try not to get those out of camera moments, because to me it's easier to follow, I think. So Shu is there studying, and someday he goes to a place on the back of his school that he goes to be alone and all, and he finds this girl, which is at the very least they say she's a singer in the anime, but it's never really shown her singing or making a video. She's just regarded as a internet artist, not like a VTuber, but really someone like a YouTuber. I think a YouTuber that sings, singer. I don't know. People break out into the world by singing in YouTube. I mean, Justin Bieber did that, but that's a whole nother story. Either way, so she's the singer of a fictional band called Egoist in the anime, and he finds her in his special place there, wounded and carrying something important. Okay, so then he goes, tries to help her and all, and you already get this thing where you can see where the connection starts, where they try to do the romance to get the head start. And then there's some things where it is explained that she stole something from this government agency that took over after the outbreak in 2029, which basically the situation is Japan is now governed by a military organization, and it has lost its sovereignty basically, and everyone is, so there are two kinds of people now: the people who comply with the with the government and people who don't. And it's clearly shown in the first episodes, like they will just bullshit away to kill political opponents and so on and so forth. It's kind of messed up. It's pretty brutal, actually. They don't care if it's women or children. It's just fire all cylinders, get the work done. So back to the story. So Shu finds her. Her name is, and I will butcher this, Yuzuriha Inori, and she's the cutest girl ever. But that's a judgment I will pass later. So anyways, so he finds her and he discovers that she's actually connected to a terrorist organization, and that the thing she stole is actually really important, and he gets like pulled to deliver it because she's injured, and he's kind of it's pretty teenager like. I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know why I'm here doing what I do. And that's the seed, so he's kind of weak-minded, doesn't know his way yet, and all. And then he gets railroaded to get the thing to the terrorists. So, and he goes with it. I will not pass judgment on that. I don't know. Each one to their own. So they go there. He tries to deliver it, but they are found by the guys that got stolen, the government agency, and they are pursuing Nori. And to protect her, he accidentally opens the thing she stole. That is a capsule, I would say, a capsule, a vial, maybe, with this, and this starts the whole stage. So they use a lot of bullshit science fiction jargon to try to make an explanation of the powers and so on, but let's just say he gets powers, and there's this thing where he can draw out the soul of a person, and each soul has it's kind of a tool, sometimes a weapon, sometimes a mix of both, sometimes something you can't really guess from looking. And that's the whole thing. So he pulls out her soul. Her soul is actually the main weapon of the series. That's a huge ass sword. And he goes there, and here is the other thing. This anime has mecha in it. It's they never really explain the way the mecha works, but sometimes it seems like if the mecha gets destroyed, the pilot dies, but that never really happens, so I don't know. Let's go. And then he goes. There's this whole thing with the whole fight. He just scraps all the mechas in his way with this amazing soundtrack. I really mean it. If you gonna watch this anime, use some good headphones. You thank yourself for that. It is a really, really good soundtrack. It takes the experience so hard to the next level. It's indescribable. So then he goes there, saves her. When he gets to the terrorists to deliver the vial is not. It's broken. He has the powers, and so he gets kind of railroaded into getting into the terrorist organization for some reason, and he goes just like, okay, I guess. I mean, just roll with it. To this point, you are like in the third episode, so you just go in with the rolling with the punches. At this point, at least I think I am, and then the story basically starts. So Inori gets to live with him because the terrorist chief, that is Tsutsugami Gai, which is the other protagonist. Later it's more explained, but he's the second protagonist basically, and he's the chief of the terrorist cell, and he gets Inori to leave with Shu for no apparent reason other than peer pressure, and that starts the it's easygoing school life kind of mix of the anime. And mind you, this is the first 5 episodes. And now and this is the stage, right? This is the introduction from the anime. Now I need to talk about what happens after episode 5. And this is more of a conspiracy theory. I could not, for the life of me, find something that proves that agrees with my theory, but let's just say it's a hunch. It's having seen some of the best OVAs from IG production, I feel it in my bones that from episode 6 forward, someone just kicked the door in the office, came in shouting like, "God damn, you guys are thinking we have 4 seasons for this? We only have 2, and you guys are like trying to make a good plot? Shorten it by principle." And this is a really heavy conspiracy theory, but I will tell you about it. So, sixth episode, they go on a mission that it's the first time like Shu's still pretty lukewarm towards the idea of being a terrorist and going against the government and all. And he has this thing where he's already been betrayed. I mean, it's kind of already a mess. His head is already a mess. This is a part I will get to later. But the whole thing is already kind of getting to him, and he has this mission where he needs to get one of his friends to a installation, a government building, to steal something, because apparently Guy has this ability to see the void. They call the manifestation of the souls voids. So Guy has this ability to see the form of voids and what they do. It's never really explained why, but roll with it. And this one friend of Shu has this void which can open anything. So you just click it and it opens. Whatever it is, the form of open, he opens it. And that's it. So he has to take the guy to a faraway location. It's the beach episode, actually. It's like 5 minutes of beach episode, but anyway, so I'm getting sidetracked already. And we get to this part where he gets his void and opens up the thing, and when they get to it, it's not there. And it not being there, they have to bail out and all. And they calling reinforcements, the guards start shooting. There's this part where he gets 2 Glocks and starts just wrecking it. It's kind of amazing, actually. The anime is well animated too, but I don't know, man. It's still not the peak. It's kind of an 8 out of 10. It's pretty near the peak, but not really the peak. Getting sidetracked. And then the first, let's say, system hack happens. So Shu has to look in the eyes of a person to extract the void. And extracting the void is like reaching into the person's middle of the chest and pulling it out. Okay, that's the rules. So he has to see the person in the eyes. And then the first hack happens where, for no apparent reason, he's really far apart from Inori, and she just appears to him in a extra dimensional layer of his mind, and somehow she gets her own void and fuses it with some kind of power that unlocks a railgun. It's kind of a railgun, a laser, whatever, you get it. She just spawns it out of thin air, and that's the first break. And then we start to the part where I really, really think they just started cutting corners. So from episode 7 forward, everything is rushed. So every interaction, every time they try to do character development and everything is cut. You can see the story starts to chug along so hard, because then they start to review all of the things they have to do. So actually there's this thing where there's this entity from 10 years ago, which was the patient zero of the virus, and she actually controls the virus for no apparent reason, because they do not explain anything, and apparently she can be revived and all, and for some reason Inori gets kidnapped for no apparent reason by someone who appears out of thin air, which has the freaking powers of Shu. So the guy, which does not look like a guy but kind of looks, it's, I would say a trap, but it's not a trap. It's pretty obvious that it's a guy, whatever. So this guy appears out of thin air and he starts talking about things we do not, there's no clue what the heck is happening. Inori gets kidnapped by him. He gets the sword from her for no apparent reason, because he has the powers. Then gets her to an extra dimensional plane, and somehow some guy that is not really, they don't say his name for the whole, I don't know, 8 episodes before they actually give out his name. So first time they say it, you're like, who? And it starts to really get messed up. And then we get, so all these things happen. A whole operation gets wrecked by the government, because apparently the government has always this one step ahead, and everything has cameras everywhere, surveillance state, and so on and so forth. It's a mess. And then episode 11 and then episode 12 on the freaking clock. And this is where I say this gets so rushed, and something happened that they had to cut 2 seasons. I think it was 2 seasons, but we'll get there. Episode 11 and episode 12, they tried to get so much flashback content on 2 episodes. I think episode 10 too, but either way, episode 11 and episode 12, they dumped so much information on you. It's ludicrous. So apparently Shu had a older sister that died, but he by trauma just splurred that memory from his mind, because whatever. And when he actually remembers it, guy is a childhood friend from him that he just suppressed the memory to. And apparently they are trying to revive his sister because she's the one controlling the virus, but actually no. And apparently Inori is actually a body created without the soul to get the soul from his sister back to a body and revive her. Whatever, let's get to it. And just to cut the corners, right? So episode 10, I think it's episode 10, they do this, the government do this thing where they kind of release a second Lost Christmas, a kind of mini second Lost Christmas. So a lot of people start to get the virus again. So just quick side note, right? The virus outbreak 10 years ago had this thing where people have to have regular vaccines, I mean weekly, because the virus is kind of a cancer, and if you don't treat it, it starts to grow crystals on you until you grow enough crystals to either lose a part of your body or your whole body, or you get the situation, right? And then they unleash this sound wave, which apparently activates the virus in the overclocked manner. But Inori for some reason has this song which she sings, which is awesome, by the way. Which is awesome. It's part of the OST. It's pretty good. That just negates it. So one song is for activating and one song is for deactivating. God damn. And I don't know. That's the thing, right? And first season, episode 12, it ends up with Guy sacrificing himself for Shu to try to kill his sister again, because apparently she died the first time Last Christmas was like the thing where she unleashed all the virus and killed herself for accident? ? It's a whole mess. And he tries to kill her body, just to give the names right. Her sister is called Mana. Either way, let's get to the second season. So, episode 13. Episode 13, first episode of second season. Oh boy. So after this whole disaster of unleashing the second mini Lost Christmas, the government agency tries to up their power, their sovereignty over Japan, so they institute a whole ass lockdown with police surveillance and mechas everywhere and automatic fire if someone does not respect it. It's pretty brutal. They do shoot at civilians. You can see, if you ever saw something from Production ID, you can see Blood Sea on that scene. It's Blood Sea written all over it, but with mechas and 3D animation. Okay, after that side note, so they get this thing where people are stuck in the places they had when the lockdown happened, and all the students are back at school, and Shu is kind of bummed out because Guy died, and Guy at that point was like Shu's idol, because Guy was the school guy that could do anything. Even though he could not do anything, he could make people really believe that he could do anything, and self-confidence and all, whatever. So we get to this part where you see that the politics inside the school were getting kind of messed up. Tensions, people can't see their families, there's no TV, no telephone. They are in the future, so they have this kind of digital tablets, so the kind of holograms and all. Side notes. And then we supporting cast, let's go. So the friend, Sota's friend, which has that power to open up things, Sota. I don't remember any of the surnames for the supporting cast because they don't really matter. And there's the class representative, which I do not remember the name. There's this guy who betrayed him already, that's Yahiro. And there's the student council president, which is Nagisa. I think it is. Unrelated. I would say it's not really important to the overall plot, although it kind of is. Either way, they go through their motions. The president of the student council has to manage all the vaccines, food and all, and they eventually get to the point where the students are trying to get the president to renounce, and they kind of do. But then there's this one event that they try to do to get the morals up, which is the school festival, and oh boy, that's so much filler in and of itself. But they do end the episode. The second half of the episode is actually pretty good. It's actually action packed. Alright, so side note too, there's this whole supporting cast of the terrorists, the Undertakers. That is people, Ayase, which is the pilot of the Max, but she's paraplegic from the waist down, and she has this whole arc where she does not accept help to get into her wheelchair and all, There's Tsugumi, which is the Yuri persona, I would say a child genius too. There's Arugo, and the big guy, I just forgot the name. Well, whatever. I'm telling all the names because later I need to say what really happens. So they try to have this festival, but then there's this guy who's obsessed with Shu. There is this kind of a Joker. It's pretty Joker-like. They try to mimic Joker a lot on him because he's, I would not say psychopathic, but sociopath in more ways than one. And he's obsessed with the power of the voids and Shu in general. So he tries to mess up with them indirectly, and so he gets some kind of stragglers outside of the school to weapons and a mecha to wreck up the place, get food, looting and all. You can see where I'm going with this. They try to loot, but Shu gets Ayasu's void to her, and because he has now this power where before he had to extract the void and knock out the person, but now he can extract the void and not knock down the person, so the person can use her own void and all. And there's this whole scene where Ayasu actually can fly and walk, and there's this. It's the part of the character development where the character can see what they lost and cope with the loss, right? It's never really explained why she's paraplegic, but it is the way it is. And then they have this part where Shu actually saves everyone and everyone sees it. It's a lot showy, for lack of a better word. It's pretty fleshed out to anyone in the school. And then there's this, they come back to the reality of politics and the student council president and all and on and on. And for one reason or another, she steps down and they get Shu to be in her place. And when Shu gets to be the king, it does not go well. And this goes to the main point I want to make. For all the plot holes and all, I would say that Guilty Crown is a story about trauma. Shu is a character molded by trauma. He has trauma from his childhood that leaves him to be the way he is, lose his way in his life, and from trauma to trauma, he just chugs along on the anime. So the trauma of losing Guy, the trauma of later, and I will say this already because I'm already spoiling all this, the trauma of discovering his family's past, the trauma of getting to know his sister, although briefly, but the trauma of knowing why he's there, what happened before, what was to happen, the trauma. And this is the part where we are, right? So at the school there's this one girl that's Hare, that's the love interest. She has a crush on him, it's clear from the first episode on, but he does not. He kind of just looks at Inori, and I have to say, Inori is pretty nice as a character, but you can see some parts of her that are pretty ugly. I came out of rewatching this because I rewatch everything or reread any manga or anime that I present here. I always try to refresh everything. I came out after rewatching Guilty Crown not liking Nori as much as I initially thought, because you can see some parts where it's pretty. Although she grows up to like Shu, she's not the best one, in my opinion. There's some parts, but that's a whole nother discussion. So there's Hare, that's the second love interest, and to this part they get involved in an accident because he gets coerced into implementing a system which Hanks ranks people on the quality of their void, and Shu's friend Sota gets ranked really low on the F tier. yeah, tier lists before tier lists were cool, but whatever. I don't wanna draw too much on it. And they get Lex vaccine, so you get to see later that Sota actually starts to grow the crystals on his head. It's pretty gross, and generally just get bad treatment from people, right? And he gets coerced into implementing this, and the people on F tier try to prove themselves by getting more vaccines from a local hospital that apparently wasn't looted yet. But then the government agency, the Joker character, I don't even remember his name because goddamn, I hate that guy, just summons the Max and to the hunt, right? And there's this whole fight, right? And trying to get people to safety and so on and so forth. But then Hare and Shu does not get to see this, but Yahiro gets, and it's a whole mess. If you break the void, which is not explained how the heck you break a void, because goddamn, some of them are swords. How do you break a sword? Huge ass sword. I can't show a visual representation for that, but I mean, some things that are you just get to beat people with, how do you break that? I mean, it will wear out, but it will not break. Either way, so Hare's void is kind of a bandage that has its own motion. I think it's hard to explain. It's a bandage, and one of the mechs shoots it, and after he shoots it, her body gets all crystallized and poofs out of existence. And Shu just gets to see that part where she poofs, and that's the trauma. That's the one trauma on the second season that starts the school arc. Really, it's Hare's death. This is a major spoiler, but I had this spoiler warning at the start. Don't say I didn't. So they get this. So Shu gets really tyrannical. He tries really to get the system running, and the only person he really trusts is actually Inori. And it gets sickening. It is sad, but at the same time, you become really possessed with this feeling of god damn, this guy is an asshole. And that's it. That's basically it. And back to and this is the part where things start to get really, really, really messed up. So there's this tyrannical government already in school, so the Shu's treating people really badly. It's really, really messed up. And at some point, Arugo, which was one of the Undertakers, comes to rescue the former student council president, because her grandfather's kind of a big shot. It's not explained also, and he wants her out. And Arugo goes there, and he is Shu's friend. Although when he gets there, he starts to say, "Yo man, you are being an asshole," and he gets sent to the improvised prison and so on and so forth. So escape and all. And someone tells Nagisa, which is the student council president, the whole thing where everything's messed up, and actually when you break the void, you die and all. And everything's messed up at this point. And so people really, the civil unrest at the school gets really heavy and everything. And there is this thing where there's no character development to say this, but at some point Nagisa just turns around from being that proudful Ojo-sama to sell her body to a no one just to get information and favors outside of her reach. And I had to sit down and think, god damn, it's not explained. And she just has this 180 of an opinion of doing something like that. It's just ludicrous. I don't have better words to say this, but it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. It just happens from 1 second to the other. It's really bad. It's, oh boy, I'm getting all messed up in my words too. So anyways, and then they have this plan, right? So Shu has this plan where he will get people out of the school, out of the quarantine zone they have. But at the same time, when they do this plan, they start to plan a coup d'état. I don't speak French. I don't know how to. They try to take power, and they just plan to do that just after they leave the quarantine zone. Although they are not safe. I don't know where they thought they were safe the moment they stepped out of the college, of the school. But there's this thing, right? So you don't stop in a place where there's danger. That's the basic human instinct. But it's so ludicrous to even fathom what happens there. At the worst possible moment, they try to betray the guy. And I mean, they could betray the guy. I do not judge on that. But not at that point. Not at that point. There's no reason for doing that at that specific point in time. They could just regroup in some safer place and do that, but actually no. Whatever. And I say that because the next second what happens is a whole lot of mechas storm into the fray, kill a whole lot of students, and Guy apparently revives for some reason, although he has the crystals on his head too. And this is the part where nothing else makes sense actually. So Guy just comes out of thin air with these crystals. He stands his hand forward and pulls out the voids from people and combine them to fuse them, which is first in the anime, if you don't consider the first hack of they just spawning the sword on episode 7. But anyways, and then he just kills a lot of people. He takes Shu's arms out, so Shu actually loses the power to draw out voids the moment he loses his arm and everything now. And the only one who stays with him is Inori at the end, because Nagisa actually has a crush on Guy, although it's clear that Guy does not have eyes for her, and it's this unrequited love. And she gets this part where she will blindly follow him, although she knows that it will result on nothing. Either way, sidetrack. So she loses his arm and all, and then we get this whole 2 episodes of them. 2 episodes? I think it's just 1 actually. That they are running around, escaping police and the mechas, and Inori is trying to nourish Shu, although he's depressed, traumatized, and without an arm now, and without powers, right? And then she finds out that actually they are searching for her and not him, and so she sacrifices herself. She gets this, I would say, kind of transformation, where she can spawn Wolverine-like crystal blades from her arms and get like super speed and all out of thin air, man. I'm just rolling with it at this point. And then there's this whole thing where she gets captured eventually, and then we go to the row with the punches and all, and the Undertakers and this is the part, and I need to say this, some characters are really just killed because there's no closure to them. And this is the final part where I'm gonna draw it out, because I will talk about the ending of the anime either way. And this is my opinion too, now that I could just draw the whole picture for you to analyze. So the thing is, from episode 7 forward, the anime gets really rushed. The info dumps are huge. If you miss a phrase, you may miss something really important. You may miss intentions. You may much of what I'm telling you, not much. Some parts are inferred and not explicitly shown. Some parts are just theories. Some parts are unconfirmed. Some things it's implied, although it's not shown. And that's the whole thing. With 22 episodes and this kind of multi-character arc, this whole development, world building and all, you can see, and this whole jargon they use to the genome, void genome, the king vial, and things that I didn't mention because I would have to stop and explain everything. But please watch the anime, it's pretty good. It's a lost gem of the early 2010s. But this whole jargon, the powers, the mana situation, the whole situation with Shu's father, Shu's mother, who's actually not his biological mother, Nagisa's situation, which I thought was just so wild, so sudden, no foreshadowing, no hesitation, no nothing. She just, let's do it. And this whole thing, and this is a thing I want to talk about too. We never get to see the whole story about Inori's creation. We can infer she was created on a lab to be Mana's body, but at some point they say that guy releases her from a pod and teaches her things from human life, but that's never shown. They only show, like, I don't know, 3 frames from her being released, and that's it. And I mean, that's the thing, right? And no one of the characters actually have closure in any of their arcs. The only one that gets near to that is Ayase, which gets to finally cope with the loss and accept help, which I thought was one of the good examples of closure they could have done. But we don't get closure on Inori, we don't get a real closure on Guy, and that's the ending. But the ending is it's bullcrap. It's, oh boy, it's shit. But we don't have closure on his friends, we don't have closure on the whole planet, the whole siege with Japan, how things went after they could defeat Mana and all. And this is the thing, right? So they defeat Mana, and get this, Mana gets at most 30 seconds of screen time. She has like 3 lines after her revival in Inori's body. Oh boy, I'm spoiling so much already. And that's it. She gets 30 seconds, does one thing, say 3 lines, and they cut to the final battle between Shu and Guy, and when Guy dies, she dies. With no previous warning, no reason given, she just dies. And I would want to talk about this too. So remember when I said that episode 11 and episode 12, they info dump a whole lot of things to try to make up for the fact that this anime just has 2 seasons, in air quotes, 2 seasons. Near the end, on episode 20 or 21, they try to info dump the whole deep lore of the thing. So they are already assuming that you started watching this from the very start and got all of the clues and everything beforehand. So there are things they don't actually show again, because gotta have those 22 minutes for the TV, right? So they try to info dump all of the deep lore that happened with Shu's father, the actual origin of the virus, the whole siege with Shu's mother and Shu's father, why Shu's father is not present, why? I'll say why again, because the why is the shorter answer and the why is the longer answer. Like, what really happened, why it happened, who did it, what did it, how did it, and that's the whole thing, right? And we get this, I don't know, man, it's everything feels rushed by the end. Everything feels like so many things just thrown into the air. You know all these things, but you don't know the explanation why, and you sit there feeling like, what did I just watch? What is this? why. But I'll give them credit. I cried at the end. I don't know why. I just know that those last scenes, the tears just came to my eyes, and I closed my eyes and goddamn, it's rolling off my cheek. And yeah, I don't know what to do with that. And that's it for the Guilty Crown, actually. For my final, and I already gave my opinion, I think it's rushed. I really think that if I knew a producer there, a director, I don't know, they would tell me that they got cut off on episode 6 or 7 and they had planned for more than 22 episodes. I really think they wanted to try to do Blood Plus again, which Blood Plus has 4 seasons, so it's a whole year to develop all the plot points, and I really think they could have done that, but for one reason or another they didn't. I really recommend the anime. It's really good. If you don't stick to the details like I do, it's really good. It's a really good time. The animation's perfect. And quick note about the design, right? So the first attire of the first Inori attire, the red dress, if you see the artwork, it's really skimpy, but I never noticed it. This is just a side tidbit that between me growing up with the anime and all and rewatching it, the dress is pretty skimpy, but I never really noticed it. I always thought it was so stylish, so out there. This design of, I don't know, it's kind of a future, but I can't explain it. Just something I wanted to say. For my grades, the OST is a 10 out of 10. No questions asked. I can't really explain why, but between My Dearest, BIOS, Everlasting Guilty Crown, and Departures, it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's really good. I can't explain it. I lack the words to describe it. I'm not a music person. I cannot describe it. I can just say it's a really good time. Watch the anime with headphones, good headphones. It really pays off. And for animation, I'll give 8 out of 10. The fights are really well coordinated. I cannot say that's bad animated. It's pretty competent, sometimes better, so it's an 8 out of 10. And the story, because of the rush, I have to give it a fair 5. Objectively 5, but on my way of seeing it, it's a 7. It's at the very least a 7. So after this long rant, right, thank you for listening, thank you for watching. If you want to follow me on Spotify, subscribe me on YouTube if you can, tell your friends, right? So please, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for everything.